Okay, g'day again, viewers. Okay, what you're looking at here, this is the transom on the Huon Pine sailboat. Now I've had to fill a few bits of damage, and as I got 5 lots of wood putty here, and none of them are going to match like the colour I got. Now I could go along and try and buy another lot of wood putty, but yeah, even when mixing, like I mix a bit of the darker with the light. The light is a pine, but it's almost white. And even though I mixed a bit of the red, I think it was a Jarrah, no one, wasn't a Jarrah. Anyway, I mixed one of the reddish ones with it, but it still didn't come up anywhere near dark enough. Anyway, so what I'm going to do, I've got a little bit of stain and varnish, and yeah, if you can't make your damage blend is not the right word, but you can't make your damage disappear with a putty if it still stands out like this. What you got to do is try and disguise it. So you try and blend it into the paint. You can see light patches around it. I don't know why. That's from sanding. Well, the whole thing had been sanded, so I don't know how it come up right around it. Anyway, what I'm going to try and do is just disguise it with a little bit of stain and varnish. I've added a little bit more stain to the varnish because it wasn't quite dark enough. But anyway, we'll see how that goes. I think probably what I've got here. So I mixed a little bit of, this is the stain and varnish. It's actually see what the colour is. I think it's teak. Should be written on there somewhere, but anyway. But yeah, but it was too light, so I've added a bit of elm stain, but I think I've got it too dark. Yeah. Anyway, let's just check it, see what it goes. Hopefully I'm not going to get in the way of the camera. Sometimes a dark streak you can get away with it, but because there's other dark streaks on it, but nah, don't like that. It's too dark. Right, this is the advantage of doing it after you've already put the first coat of lacquer on. Because firstly, by putting the lacquer over the putty, you can see exactly how it's going to come out. But secondly, you don't like it, just wipe it off. Now, if I hadn't already, I kept saying lacquer, it's not lacquer, it's varnish. If I hadn't already put varnish on there, it was soaked into the timber. I wouldn't have been able to wipe it off like that. So, anyway, let's try. Put a little more of the stain and varnish in it. So let's mix a little bit of that up. I think it's still going to be too dark, but anyway, let's find out. Sometimes too, not fully mixing it, having it streaky will also help you. So yeah, it's always a bit of an experiment. So it's still much too dark. I only put a few drops of stain in, but no, there's obviously way too much. I'll put that aside because there's some bits on the other side which are where the timber is a bit darker. So see, on this hand, we'll just try not saying sheet. I tried this before, but it didn't seem to. Still got the dark on the brush. I'm starting to wonder how many times I can wipe it off before it starts softening on the varnish underneath. The good thing about this too, it says it's very old, it's all dried up, it's quite thick. So if you had a new lot of stained varnish, it's just not too bad. Sort of blends it a bit. The other thing too, when you're doing this, you always run with the timber. Well, it's still standing out there. Oops, some of that off too. Maybe I'll just wipe it away from the sides. I've done this on timber that has a distinct grain, and it's worked really well. And this is sort of not a lot of grain here, so it's whatever I put on it is still sort of standing out. It's not looking right. Problem is, okay, let's mix a little more just on this corner here. See what we come up with. Try and get it just that's sort of actually I've gone over this too many times. It's starting to soften the varnish that's underneath. Anyway, you can always let it dry and go over it again. See how it looks under the camera actually. Yeah, it's sort of still standing out. Not as much. A bit more. If I had a finer brush, it would help too. I was in town today, I should have bought another brush, didn't think of it. This brush is really a bit big for this. Thing with doing this too, see, it's going to be a lump. So when it is dry, I'm going to have to go over it with some lacquer and then sand it smooth. Okay. This is softening the lacquer. It's not really an issue anymore. Put this down for a sec. Let's try and wipe off what's around the actual thing. Yeah, darker timbers are definitely easier to try and do these sorts of things. Anyway, what I'm going to do, as I said, there's a lot of variations. So that might actually look reasonable when it's dry. Like it's standing out at the moment because it's wet and it's shiny and what's around it's dull. We'll see how it goes. These are, see, it's running across the grain. This is a definite thing that's going to stand out as not looking right. So I said, if you can't hide something, you can disguise it. Right, see, so I've covered that, but it's still standing out, so I'm try and just run out from it a little bit. A little bit more. Picking out. Now see, you can still see that. It's not as noticeable because it's not, like a standout different shape. It's not a light patch running across the grain. So this varnish has been on here longer. Well, this varnish has only been on here less than a day, I think. And that last night, yes, it's 24 hours old. But yeah, it's actually, this is probably more to do with the stain that I put in it than the stain varnish itself, because the stain seems to have a lot of solvent in it, so it will eat into the paint. No, as I said, it still stands out, but it looks more natural because it's now running, with the grain a bit more. A little bit up here, there's a bit light. So yeah, just try and disguise it a bit. Maybe a little too dark actually. Might lighten that up a little bit more. As I said, only put 2 or 3 drops of the stain in there. It was a dark stain, but yeah, that was way too much. 1 drop would be better. A little tiny bit here, do the same thing. Have a bit on there, spread it out a bit. Too much. Oops, a little for me. Oh. I said, you can still see it, but it's not stand out. See, it's not like when you look at these, they're a distinct shape and they stand out as being wrong. They're not natural. So as I said, okay, because I don't have the right colour, putty or anything, I can't make them like disappear into the wood. So I'm trying to disguise it so it looks more of a natural sort of blemish or something. Spread that alright, but I've taken too much off the actual putty line. Right. I've only sort of done this once before, and it was on a blackwood cabinet, and no blackwood, no cabinet, table. The blackwood's got a very distinct, light and dark grain, so it was really quite easy to just add a bit of dark and streak it, and just like part of the grain. It was really simple. This is considerably more difficult, but I think we're getting there, I mean, it's definitely, even if it doesn't look 100% natural, it still looks better than it did. It's still not, actually, this putty is quite lighter than the surround is a bit lighter. That's some more of this. Lighten it up a touch. Oh, still too dark. So I'll try that straight out of the can. I've still got the dark on the brush. That's it. You can only wipe it so many times, it starts. Still coming up too dark, way too dark. Light and brush clean. Just take it straight out of the tin. See how we go. Yeah, it's better. Spread that out without wiping it off. No. Okay. So now it's pretty much blended in. A little bit up here. It shouldn't take much, that's very thin. Oops, a little bit there. Yeah. Get what's in here. That's not funny, but just put a bit of dark in the middle. Yeah. So we haven't been able to hide it. We've disguised it enough so that it doesn't stand out as being a repair. So when you first look at that, now the putty now blends into the job. It's not almost. There's still a bit of a light tone here. Let's have a bit more of this. It's Huon. Didn't even notice these when I was down here. I noticed when I looked in the camera. A couple of more bits of putty that have been missed. Okay, so we've got it on now. As I mentioned in a previous video, it's all about the shape. See, when you look at all the, this timber's blotchy. It's got lots of blotches, but they're all sort of, they're not distinct shapes. So now I'm not going to try and hide these because this is a natural feature of the boat, but because they're round, look at how much they stand out. So as I said, if you got, and same here, there's, I don't know what that line is. Not a joint or anything, but if you got something, a specific round shape or a square shape, it's just going to stand out. It just looks wrong. The darker bits dried fairly well on there now. Some more of the lighter one on there now. The lighter one was sort of blending in, but it wasn't covering it. It was still showing the putty short. And the further you spread it out, the more natural it sort of looks. Right, anyway, as I said, it still stands out, but you can get away with it, see, because you've got these other, you've got dark pieces here, dark bits here, but see the way they're running, dark lines here. So because that's running the same way, nobody will pick that as not being, something that's occurred naturally. Anyway, I'll show you this other bit. I showed this in a previous video. I showed it twice actually. I showed it when I first puttied it, when I was trying to match it with the putties. And yeah, just couldn't get it right. But if you look in that other video, you'll see how this bit of damage was a distinct square shape, and it just stood out. You could see it from across the room. It just stood out as not being right, not natural. Yeah, you look at it now, you can still see it. It's still there. not even the right colour. It's sort of more red than the area around it. Like that colour would actually look better if it was up here, but because the timber is a bit lighter, it doesn't stand out as much. So, as I said, at first glance, you wouldn't take any notice of that spot. Might even get this lighter stuff now. I might even run over that a bit, try and make it a little more golden and a little more red. And this is the thing with doing this too, is you can keep going over it and over it and over it until you're happy with it. So, yeah. But yeah, as I said, there just ways around things, try and disguise things. With this bait too, when you get shiner, you can see that most of these rivets are standing out, and already lacquered over them. And I think what I'll do actually is I'll go along and I'll just brush lacquer a strip along there, try and build up. Well, I kept saying lacquer, it's not lacquer, it's varnish. Build up along there so that hopefully when I sand off it, I can bring it down a little bit without actually rubbing this chocolate brown paint off, rubbing through it. But they're still gonna stand out, to an extent. You'd probably have to put 10 coats of lacquer to be able to get that smooth again, and I don't actually have that much lacquer to do that. But that's just the way it's going to have to be. As I said, like to go along and punch every one of those rivets in. Firstly, I'd need a second person here for the entire day on the underneath with the right size rivet cap, to hold it so that I don't open the timber up. But even then, you're risking opening up gaps between the timbers, you're risking splitting the timber, bending, breaking rivets. There's a whole lot of issues that you can create by trying to do that, so I'm not going to venture down there. So as I said, I will give it another couple of late coats of lacquer just straight over the top of that, and then try and take a little bit off it, but they're still going to be raised. There isn't sort of that much I can do about it. What I'm trying to do with this bait, because you've got all this dark weathered timber. It's a point I should have made it before, in order to get rid of all this weather stain, you'd have to take the rivets right out or punch them in very deep. As I said, and then you risk all those issues. And then you'd have to take probably 3 mil off. And then there's a risk that you would notice it on the thickness of the timber. If you had to come in 3 or 4 mil, when you look at the next plank, you're going to notice that it's thinner than the other plank. There's enough thickness in plank there to do it, to get away with it, but the amount of work involved in doing it, that's what I'm saying, and the amount of risk in doing it, it's better to not do that. So, as I said, what I'm going for is to try and hide any repairs. See that there's still, little bits of mild, minor damage here and there, which I haven't bothered with, things like this, like that. There's little bits and pieces, little dents and scratches and gouges and things like that I've just left in there. I haven't bothered with it because the boat's an antique, and so I'm just trying to hide any major repairs. I'm just trying to make it look like it's just been given a light sand and painted, and there's nothing else been done to it. So, yeah. Anyway, starting to ramble on about nothing now, so yeah, leave it at that, and thanks for watching. Bye.